The life of a medieval peasant. Long ago, in a green and misty valley of medieval England, there lived a humble peasant boy named Thomas of Willowbrook. He was 12 years old, with sun-browned skin and hands calloused from work in the fields. His family lived in a small thatched cottage made of wood and straw, surrounded by a patch of vegetables and a few clucking hens. Each morning, before the first light of dawn, Thomas woke to the sound of the rooster's crow. He would stretch, rub his sleepy eyes, and help his father prepare the ox for plowing. The air was crisp, and the earth smelled rich and damp. The village fields belonged to Lord Edwin, the noble who lived in the grand stone castle on the hill. Though the peasants did not own the land, they worked it faithfully. For every bushel of grain they harvested, a portion was given to the Lord as taxes. The rest was theirs to eat or trade. Thomas didn't mind. To him the world seemed fair and full of purpose. At sunrise, the village came alive. The blacksmith's hammer clanged in the distance, smoke curled from kitchen fires, and the church bell called everyone to prayer. On Sundays, no one worked the fields. Instead, they gathered in the small wooden church, where Father Benedict reminded them that kindness and hard work pleased God. Thomas's mother spun wool to make warm cloaks, and his little sister Agnes fetched water from the well. Sometimes Thomas wished he could learn to read like the young noble boys, but he knew his duty was to the land. "A good plow feeds a family better than any book," his father would say with a smile. Life was not always easy. In winter, the fields lay frozen, and food grew scarce. The peasants huddled together around the fire, telling stories of brave knights, dragons, and kings. Thomas would listen wide-eyed, dreaming of adventure beyond the hills of Willowbrook. One spring, when Thomas was 16, the Lord's messenger came to the village with news. The castle needed extra hands to rebuild a fallen wall. Thomas was chosen to help. For the first time he entered the great castle he had only seen from afar. Its stone halls echoed with music and laughter, and the smell of roasted meat filled the air. Though his work was hard, Thomas watched and learned how masons cut stone, how scribes dipped quills in ink, how knights trained in the courtyard. He began to see that every person, whether lord or peasant, had a role to play in the great tapestry of life. Years passed, and Thomas grew strong and wise. He married a kind village girl, and together they tended their small plot of land. When he looked up at the castle on the hill, he no longer felt envy, only gratitude, for the soil beneath his feet, for the songs sung by the villagers, and for the peace of a life well lived. And so, Thomas of Willowbrook became a respected elder, telling the children of the village stories by the fire, stories of hope, hard work, and how even the simplest life can be noble. As the moonlight touched the fields of barley, Thomas would smile and whisper, "The strength of a kingdom lies not in its crown, but in the hands that till its soil." And the children, sleepy and content, would dream of the days of castles and plows, knights and peasants, and the quiet beauty of life long ago.